Captain Minjun Park stood at the observation deck of the Earth ship Harmony's Dawn and watched the massive Galaxy Council station grow larger in front of them. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It looked like a giant crystal flower floating in space around the gas giant Kepler 442c. Minjun had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "First time seeing the council station?" asked Ambassador Sarah Chen as she joined him at the window. She was a calm woman in her 50s who had spent 3 years trying to get Earth into the Galaxy Council. "Yes, ma'am," Minjun replied. "It makes our biggest space stations look like toys." Sarah nodded. "That's the point. They want us to feel small before we even walk into their chamber." Minjun had been chosen to escort the ambassador because he was one of Earth's best pilots and soldiers. If something went wrong during these talks, his job was to get Ambassador Chen out safely. He hoped he would not need to do that job today. The Harmony's Dawn docked at the station with a soft bump. Minjun and Ambassador Chen walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were made of some kind of glowing crystal that changed colors as they passed. Other beings walked by them, tall, lizard-like creatures, floating balls of light, and insect things that clicked when they moved. None of them looked at the humans. Minjun got the feeling they were not welcome here. The council chamber was enormous. 12 huge seats were arranged in a circle around a small platform in the center. Each seat held a different type of alien creature. The ceiling was so high that Minjun could not see the top. Gravity generators made the air feel thick and heavy. "Humans," said a cold voice from above them. "Step onto the platform." Minjun and Ambassador Chen walked to the center platform. A bright light shined down on them, while the alien council members sat in shadow. "I am Chancellor Vex Tar of the Zephyrian Republic," said the voice. The speaker was a large reptile creature with yellow eyes. "We have completed our study of your species." "Thank you for this opportunity," Ambassador Chen said politely. "Earth looks forward to joining the galactic community." A sound like laughter came from one of the floating lights. "Join us?" the light said in a voice like singing. "You misunderstand your situation, human. I am High Arbiter Melthara. We did not study you to decide if you could join us. We studied you to decide what to do with you." Minjun felt his stomach drop. This was not going the way they had hoped. "Your species is too primitive for membership in the Galaxy Council," Chancellor Vextar continued. "You still fight wars among yourselves. You destroy your own planet. You have no control over your emotions or your violent impulses." "But we have made great progress," Ambassador Chen said calmly. "We have ended most conflicts on Earth. We have united our governments. We have reached other planets in our system." "Barely," buzzed a new voice from a cluster of insect creatures that seemed to speak as one. "We are War-Cased Thokran of the Kathira Collective. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours. Your ships are slow and weak. Your weapons are crude." Minjun wanted to argue, but Ambassador Chen gave him a small hand signal to stay quiet. "However," Chancellor Vextar said, "we are not without mercy. We will give humanity a choice." The chamber filled with holographic images. Minjun saw Earth's colonies, the domes on Mars, the floating cities on Europa, the mining stations around Titan. "You will surrender control of all human settlements outside your home planet," the Chancellor said. "You will accept status as a protected primitive species. We will manage your expansion and development. In return, you will be safe." "And if we refuse?" Ambassador Chen asked. The holograms changed. Now, they showed massive alien warships moving through space. "Then we will make the choice for you." High Arbiter, Melthara said sweetly. "Our compliance fleet is already moving toward your system. You have 72 of your hours to accept our generous offer." Ambassador Chen was quiet for a long moment. Minjun could see her hands shaking slightly, but her voice stayed calm. "We will need to discuss this with Earth's leadership." Efferment. "Of course," Chancellor Vextar said. But understand, this is not a negotiation. This is us telling you how things will be. Your species is young and emotional. You will make the smart choice. War-cased Thokran's insect chorus buzzed again. If you choose poorly, we will show you why primitive species should not challenge their betters. The other council members made various sounds of agreement. Minjun heard clicks, hums, and strange musical tones. They all seemed very pleased with themselves. Our ship will escort you back to the docking bay, Chancellor Vextar said. Remember, 72 hours. As they walked back through the crystal corridors, Ambassador Chen stayed silent. Minjun wanted to ask her what they would do, but he knew better than to speak where aliens might hear them. It was only when they were back on the Harmony's dawn and the doors sealed that Ambassador Chen spoke. Captain Park, she said, set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Yes, ma'am, Minjun replied. Ambassador, what do we do now? Sarah Chen looked out at the Galaxy Council station as they pulled away. Now we find out if they know humans as well as they think they do. Minjun started the engines and pointed the ship toward home. As they accelerated away from the station, Minjun, 17, he thought about what the aliens had said. They called humans primitive and emotional. They said humanity was too violent and uncontrolled. Maybe they were right about humans being violent when threatened. Maybe they were right about humans being emotional. But Minjun had a feeling the Galaxy Council was about to learn that sometimes being underestimated was exactly where humans did their best work. The trip to Earth would take 18 hours. That would give the planet's leaders 54 hours to decide how to respond to the ultimatum. Minjun suspected it would be enough time. The emergency meeting room under Geneva was buzzing with nervous energy. President Elena Rodriguez sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by the most important people on Earth. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials from every continent had gathered in just 6 hours. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, President Rodriguez said after Ambassador Chen finished her report. The Galaxy Council wants us to give up our colonies and become their pets? That's correct, Madam President, Ambassador Chen replied. They call it protected primitive species status. But it amounts to the same thing. General Wang Lei, commander of Earth's Global Defense Force, slammed his fist on the table. This is exactly what we feared when we first made contact. They see us as animals to be managed. We should consider their offer, said Secretary of State James Morrison. If their technology is as advanced as our scouts reported, we cannot win a war against them. Dr. Amara Okafor, head of Advanced Weapons Research, cleared her throat. Actually, we might have more options than they realize. All eyes turned to her. Dr. Okafor was a quiet woman who rarely spoke in meetings unless she had something important to say. Explain, President Rodriguez said. For the past 2 years we have been studying the technology from alien probe crashes and recovered debris, Dr. Okafor said. We have made some interesting discoveries. She activated a holographic display in the center of the table. The aliens are very advanced, but their technology has weaknesses. They rely too much on automation and artificial intelligence. They have forgotten how to adapt quickly. Admiral Lee Sang-woo, commander of the Pacific Space Defense Fleet, leaned forward. What kind of weaknesses? Their ships cannot handle unexpected tactics, Dr. Okafor explained. Their computers are programmed to fight other advanced civilizations that follow standard military doctrine. They expect their enemies to use similar technology and similar strategies. But we do not fight like that, General Wang said, beginning to understand. Exactly. We developed our military thinking fighting other humans. We learned to be tricky, to use whatever advantages we could find, to make up for having less advanced weapons by being more clever. Dr. Okafor changed the holographic display to show new images. We have also developed several technologies that could surprise them. The first image showed a complex device, Quantum communication networks. We can send messages instantly, across any distance. Their ships use faster-than-light communication, but it still takes time. Our messages are truly instant. The next image appeared. Adaptive artificial intelligence that learns from every battle. Their AI systems are very smart, but they cannot change quickly. Ours can rewrite themselves during combat. More images followed. Kinetic bombardment weapons using our asteroid mining operations. EMP devices that can shut down their electronics. And biological weapons designed specifically for alien physiologies. Secretary Morrison looked pale. Biological weapons? That's against international law. So is enslaving the human race, General Wang replied coldly. Admiral Lee stood up and walked to the display. Dr. Okafor, how long would we need to prepare these weapons? Most are already prepared, she said. We have been working on them in secret for months. Just in case. President Rodriguez was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. What are you proposing, Admiral Lee? A 3-phase operation, Admiral Lee said. Deception, disruption, and demonstration. He pointed to the holographic display. Phase 1. We pretend to consider their offer while we position our forces. We send Ambassador Chen back to buy time, while our ships move into attack positions. Phase 2. We hit their infrastructure before they can organize a response. We have people on several of their worlds as part of the cultural exchange program. They can sabotage key installations. Phase 3. We show them that attacking Earth would cost them more than they are willing to pay. General Wang nodded slowly. A preemptive strike. Hit them before they expect it. It's risky, Secretary Morrison said. If we fail, they will destroy Earth. If we do nothing, they will enslave Earth, Admiral Lee replied. I would rather die fighting than live as their pet. Dr. Okafor spoke up again. There is something else. Our psychological profiles of the alien species show they are not used to taking heavy casualties. They have had peace for so long that they do not expect real losses. If we can make fighting us expensive enough, they might choose to leave us alone. Oh. President Rodriguez looked around the table. This is the biggest decision in human history. We are talking about war with an entire galactic civilization. We are talking about freedom, General Wang said quietly. Admiral Lee, President Rodriguez said, how long do you need to prepare? 48 hours. Our people are already in position. We just need to give them the signal. The president turned to Ambassador Chen. Sarah, you would have to go back to the council station. That would be very dangerous. Ambassador Chen smiled for the first time since entering the room. This is the first time I get to negotiate from a position where we might actually win. President Rodriguez stood up. Then we do this. But I want every civilian evacuation plan ready. I want our orbital habitats prepared for siege. And I want every human ship that can carry weapons armed and ready. What about the colonies? Admiral Morrison asked. We evacuate the civilians and turn the installations into military bases, Admiral Lee said. If the aliens want our colonies, they can have them. But they will pay a price for everyone. Over the next 6 hours, Earth transformed. Military units that had been on routine training exercises suddenly moved to combat positions. Civilian ships began evacuating non-essential personnel from the outer system. Captain Min-Jun Park found himself reassigned to a new ship, the Soul's Pride, a fast attack vessel disguised as a cargo hauler. His crew was made up of Earth's best pilots, all volunteers who knew they might not survive the next few days. As the Harmony's Dawn prepared to return to the Galaxy Council Station with Ambassador Chen and Earth's answer, Min-Jun watched the organized chaos of Earth's military mobilization. The aliens thought humans were too primitive to be dangerous. They thought human emotions made them weak and unpredictable. Min-Jun smiled grimly as he ran final checks on his ship's weapons systems. The Galaxy Council was about to learn that sometimes Being unpredictable was exactly what made someone dangerous. In 36 hours, they would find out which side was right. Captain Min-jun Park adjusted his maintenance worker uniform and checked his equipment one more time. The fake identity badge hanging from his neck said he was Technician Park from the Council Station's Environmental Systems Department. His team of 3 other humans wore similar disguises. "Remember," he whispered into his communication device. "We plant the charges and get out. No heroics." Sergeant Kim Yu-jin, dressed as a cleaning specialist, nodded. "Understood, sir. Quantum-linked explosives are in position in sectors 7 through 12. Lieutenant David Kumar, posing as a computer repair technician, was already working on the station's main communication array. His fingers flew over the alien controls as he installed a virus that would spread through their entire network. The Galaxy Council station was huge, but most of it was automated. The aliens rarely bothered to check on the thousands of maintenance workers that kept their massive facility running. They were too important to notice the people who cleaned their floors and fixed their machines. That arrogance was about to cost them. 3 levels below, Ambassador Chen was presenting Earth's surrender documents to the Galaxy Council. Min-jun could hear Chancellor Vextar's smug voice through the communication speakers in the maintenance tunnels. "A wise choice," the reptilian leader was saying. "Humanity has accepted its proper place in the galactic order. I'm Wen. A wise choice." Min-jun almost smiled. If only they knew what Earth's proper place was about to become. While Min-jun's team worked inside the council station, operations were beginning across the galaxy. On 12 different worlds, humans who had been living as students, researchers, and cultural ambassadors were revealing their true purpose. Dr. Lisa Zhang had been studying Zephyrian literature for 8 months on their homeworld. Today, she was using her access to the planetary library to plant a computer virus that would shut down their orbital defense platforms. Marcus Johnson had been working as a trade representative on the insectoid Kythera worlds. His trade samples were actually advanced explosives designed to destroy their military communication relays. Elena Vasquez had been teaching human art to young Luminari on their crystal moon bases. Her art supplies included components for EMP bombs that would disable their energy-based technology. All across Council space, 47 humans were conducting the largest sabotage operation in galactic history. They had been in position for months, waiting for this moment. Back in Earth's solar system, Admiral Morrison was preparing for the battle of his life. The alien compliance fleet had arrived right on schedule, 47 heavy cruisers and 3 massive dreadnought-class vessels. They moved in perfect formation toward Earth, confident that the primitive humans would surrender when they saw such overwhelming force. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Admiral Morrison's flagship, the Indomitable, was hidden behind one of Jupiter's larger moons along with 60 other Earth vessels. They were not impressive ships by alien standards, converted cargo haulers, modified civilian vessels, and a few purpose-built military ships that looked primitive compared to alien technology. But Admiral Morrison was not planning to fight fair. "All units, this is Admiral Morrison," he broadcast on the encrypted quantum communication network. "Execute Plan Marathon. Show them why humans are dangerous." The first alien ship to die never saw it coming. A converted asteroid mining vessel, disguised as space debris, activated its engines and rammed straight into the alien cruiser's engine section. The collision destroyed both ships instantly, but the explosion sent fragments into 2 other alien vessels. "What was that?" came the confused transmission from the alien fleet commander. "Some kind of accident?" The second attack came from the asteroid belt itself. What the aliens thought were ordinary rocks suddenly activated hidden engines and accelerated toward their formation. Each asteroid carried a nuclear warhead designed to penetrate alien shields through sheer kinetic force. 3 more alien ships were destroyed before they realized they were under attack. "Impossible," the alien commander broadcast. "These primitives cannot have this technology." Admiral Morrison smiled grimly. "All fighters. Attack pattern Delta. Show them what human pilots can do. 60 small Earth fighters emerged from hiding spots throughout the outer solar system. They were tiny compared to the massive alien ships. But that was exactly the point. The alien weapons were designed to fight other large vessels, not swarms of small, fast targets. The human pilots dove at the alien formation like angry wasps, using tactics no AI could predict. They flew between alien ships, forcing the aliens to risk hitting each other. They used the gas giant's gravity to slingshot around and attack from unexpected angles. They sacrificed damaged ships to protect healthy ones, ramming alien vessels when their weapons failed. "This is madness," the alien fleet commander transmitted. "They are fighting like animals." Meanwhile, back on the council station, Minjun was receiving reports from across the galaxy. "Sole base to all units," came Admiral Lee's voice through his earpiece. "Phase 2 is complete. All targets have been hit. Communication relays on 7 worlds are down," reported Dr. Zhang. "Cathera Military Command cannot contact their fleet," added Marcus Johnson. "Luminari orbital defenses are offline," confirmed Elena Vasquez. In the space of 30 minutes, the Galaxy Council had lost communication with most of their military forces. Their perfect coordination was shattered. Chancellor Vex Tar was in the middle of explaining to Ambassador Chen how humanity would be guided in their future development when the station's lights went out. "What is happening?" High Arbiter Melthera's voice rose in panic as her energy form flickered. "I think," Ambassador Chen said calmly in the darkness, "you are discovering what happens when you threaten a species that does not know how to surrender." Emergency lighting came on, casting strange shadows in the council chamber. War-cased, Thokran's insect collective was buzzing frantically as they tried to contact their fleets. "This is impossible," Chancellor Vex Tar hissed. "You are primitive. You cannot have this capability." Ambassador Chen stood up slowly. "You studied our technology and our weapons, but you never studied our spirit. You cannot measure courage with your computers." Min Jun and his team were already moving toward their extraction point. Their job was done. Every major system on the Galaxy Council station was either destroyed or infected with adaptive viruses that would continue spreading. The quantum-linked explosives would detonate in exactly 10 minutes, giving them just enough time to escape, but ensuring the station would be crippled for weeks. "All teams, extraction time," Minjun broadcast. "The party is over." As his team reached their hidden escape ship, Minjun could hear alarms blaring throughout the massive station. The aliens were finally beginning to understand what was happening to them. But it was too late. The first strike was complete, and humanity had shown the Galaxy Council something they had never expected to see. They had shown them what fear felt like. Supreme Admiral Zekthul of the Draknari Empire had never been so angry in his 300-year military career. His massive flagship, the World Render, led a fleet of 200 warships toward Earth's solar system. This was no longer about bringing a primitive species into compliance. This was about punishment. "These humans have made a grave error," he growled into his communication device. "They think they can strike at the Galaxy Council and escape consequences. Today they learn why advanced civilizations do not wage war against their betters." On the bridge of his ship, alien officers from a dozen different species worked frantically at their stations. The World Render was 3 kilometers long and carried weapons capable of destroying entire planets. It had never been used in actual combat because no species had been foolish enough to challenge Council authority. Until now. War-cased Thokran's collective voice buzzed through the communication system. "Admiral, the human fleet appears to be much larger than our initial estimates. Our sensors detect over 300 vessels in their system." "Primitive ships," Admiral Zekthul replied dismissively. "Numbers mean nothing when facing superior technology. Prepare the planetary bombardment system. If the humans will not surrender, we will give them no choice." Meanwhile, in the underground command bunker beneath Geneva, President Rodriguez watched the tactical display with growing concern. The alien fleet approaching Earth was massive, far larger than anything their intelligence had suggested was possible. "Admiral Lee," she said into her communication device, "do we have any chance of stopping them?" Admiral Lee Sang-woo was aboard his flagship, the Indomitable Soul, leading Earth's defense fleet. His voice was calm despite the impossible odds. "Madam President, the enemy has overwhelming firepower, but they have never fought humans before. Dr. Okafor was running final checks on humanity's most desperate weapon, a prototype torpedo based on dark matter manipulation. The technology was dangerous and unstable, but it was their only hope of stopping the alien planet killer. The dark matter torpedo is ready," she reported. "But Admiral, I must warn you again, using this weapon will violate several galactic treaties. It will mark humanity as criminals in the eyes of every species in the galaxy." "Doctor," Admiral Lee replied, "if we do not use it, there will be no humanity left to be criminals." Captain Min-Jun Park was now commanding a squadron of modified fighters called the Soul Squadron. His ship, renamed the Defiant, was armed with experimental weapons and piloted by volunteers who knew they probably would not survive the next few hours. "All fighters, this is Captain Park," he broadcast to his squadron. "Today we show the galaxy that humans do not go quietly into extinction." The battle began when the alien fleet reached the outer edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Zekthul expected the humans to meet him with their best ships in a traditional formation. Instead, he found empty space. "Where are they?" he demanded. "Sensors show human ships throughout the system, but they are not grouping for battle." His tactical officer, a tall insectoid creature, clicked nervously. "Admiral, they appear to be using the system's natural features for concealment. Ships are hiding behind asteroids, moons, and gas giant atmospheres." "Cowards," Admiral Zekthul snarled. "Find them and destroy them." The first human attack came from an unexpected direction. A group of converted cargo ships emerged from behind Jupiter's moon Europa and launched a salvo of kinetic projectiles at the alien formation. The projectiles were simple chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds, but they struck with the force of nuclear weapons. 2 alien cruisers were destroyed instantly. The others raised their shields and returned fire, but the human ships had already disappeared back behind the moon. "What kind of tactic is this?" Admiral Zekthul roared. "Stand and fight like warriors." Instead, more attacks came from different directions. Human ships appeared, fired, and vanished before the aliens could respond effectively. They used asteroid fields for cover, gravity wells for acceleration, and the solar system's natural features like weapons. Captain Park led his fighters in a series of hit-and-run attacks on the alien formation's flanks. His pilots flew their small ships between the massive alien vessels, forcing the aliens to risk hitting each other with their powerful weapons. "These humans fight like insects," War-Caste Thokran complained. "Where is their honor? Where is their formation discipline? They are fighting to survive." Admiral Lee's voice came through the alien communication channels. He had deliberately broadcast on their frequency. "That makes them more dangerous than you can imagine." The tide of battle began to turn when the World Render activated its main weapon. The massive energy beam swept across space and destroyed an entire squadron of human ships in seconds. "See," Admiral Zekthul broadcast triumphantly. "This is what happens when primitives challenge their betters." But his victory celebration was cut short when Captain Park's fighters penetrated the World Render's defensive screen. The small human ships were too fast and maneuverable for the ship's automated defense systems. "How are they getting through our shields?" Zekthul demanded. His tactical officer studied the sensor readings. "Admiral, they are not trying to penetrate our shields. They are targeting specific weak points where the shields do not cover completely. Their pilots are making precision attacks that no AI could calculate." Park's fighters swarmed around the massive ship like angry bees around a bear. They targeted sensor arrays, communication relays, and weapon mounting points. Each fighter carried explosives designed to cause maximum damage to specific systems. "Impossible," Zekthul raged. No organic pilot has reflexes fast enough for such precision flying. He was wrong. Human pilots, trained from childhood to handle high-speed aircraft and spacecraft, had reflexes and spatial awareness that artificial intelligence could not replicate. They could make split-second decisions based on instinct and experience that no computer could match. As the battle continued, Admiral Lee made the decision that would change galactic history forever. The alien planet killer was charging its main weapon for another devastating attack. Earth's conventional forces could not stop it. "Dr. Okafor," he said quietly, "deploy the dark matter torpedo." "Admiral, are you certain?" "Once we use this weapon, we can never take it back." "Doctor, if we do not use it, there will be nothing left to take back." The dark matter torpedo was launched from a concealed position behind Mars. It was invisible to most sensors and traveled at near light speed. When it struck the world render, the result was beyond anything either side had expected. The explosion did not simply destroy the massive alien ship. It created a space-time distortion that damaged several other vessels and sent gravitational waves through the entire fleet. What was that? Admiral Zek Thul's voice came from his escape pod as his flagship was torn apart by forces that violated known physics. "That," Admiral Lee replied grimly, "was humanity showing you that some species will use any weapon necessary to remain free." The alien fleet retreated in disorder. They had come to punish a primitive species, and instead had encountered weapons and tactics that challenged everything they thought they knew about warfare. As the surviving alien ships limped away from Earth's solar system, they carried with them a new understanding. Humanity was not just another primitive species that could be easily controlled. They were something the galaxy had not seen in thousands of years, a species willing to do whatever it took to survive. And that made them more dangerous than any weapon the aliens possessed. 3 weeks after the Battle of Sol, Chancellor Vexistar sat in what remained of the Galaxy Council chamber and stared at reports that made no sense. Half of the Council's member species had recalled their fleets. Several worlds were demanding an investigation into the Council's decision to attack humanity. Some species were even asking for separate peace talks with Earth. "This is impossible," he hissed to High Arbiter Melthara, whose energy form flickered weakly in the damaged chamber. "We are the advanced civilization. We have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. And in 1 week," Melthara replied bitterly, "a species that barely learned to travel between planets has shattered our authority." War-cased Thokran's collective voice buzzed with confusion. How did we calculate so incorrectly? Their technology should not have been capable of resisting us. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kemal Ozan, a luminary scientist who had spent years studying human behavior, entered the chamber. Unlike the council members, he did not seem surprised by recent events. "You studied human technology," Dr. Ozan said calmly, "but you never studied human nature." "Explain," Chancellor Vextar demanded. "Humans are the only species in the galaxy that evolved as persistence hunters, Dr. Ozan continued. They chase their prey until it collapses from exhaustion. They do not stop. They do not give up. And when threatened with extinction, they become incredibly creative." Meanwhile, on Earth, President Rodriguez was addressing the United Nations in an emergency session. The General Assembly Hall was packed with representatives from every nation, all trying to understand what humanity's victory meant for their future. "Fellow humans," President Rodriguez began, 3 weeks ago, we faced a choice between freedom and slavery. Today we face a new choice. Between becoming the galaxy's feared outcasts or showing them a different path forward. Our Ambassador Chen, now bearing a scar across her forehead from the council station explosion, stood beside the president. "We have received communication requests from 47 different species. They want to understand how we defeated the council fleet. More importantly, they want to know if we can teach them." Admiral Lee Sangwoo, recently promoted to Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces, activated a holographic display showing the current galactic situation. The Galaxy Council's authority is crumbling. Several species have declared independence. Others are forming new alliances. The old order is finished. What we do next, President Rodriguez continued, will determine whether humanity becomes a force for liberation or just another galactic empire. The decision was unanimous. Earth would offer alliance to any species that wanted equality instead of hierarchy, cooperation instead of domination. Captain Min Jun Park was selected to lead humanity's first diplomatic mission to the rebelling worlds. His ship, now renamed the New Horizon, carried both military advisors and cultural ambassadors. Their job was not to conquer, but to inspire. Their first stop was the Luminary homeworld, where Dr. Kemal Ozan had convinced his people to break away from council control. The crystal cities that covered their planet were beautiful, but Minjun could see signs of stagnation everywhere. The Luminari had become so dependent on council technology that they had stopped innovating centuries ago. "We have forgotten how to think for ourselves, Doctor," Ozan explained as he showed Minjun through their research facilities. "The council told us what to study, how to develop, when to advance. We became like children following orders." "That can change," Minjun replied. "Humans can teach you how to think independently again. But more importantly, you can teach us things we never imagined." The partnership that developed between humans and Luminari became the model for what would become known as the Terran Alliance. Instead of one species dominating others, each brought their unique strengths to the partnership. Dr. Okafor established joint research centers where human creativity combined with alien technological sophistication. The results surpassed anything either species could achieve alone. Weapons that adapted during combat, ships that could repair themselves, and communication systems that could reach across the entire galaxy instantly. On the insectoid Kythera worlds, human military advisors taught individual initiative to creatures that had relied on collective thinking for millions of years. The results were revolutionary. Kythera soldiers who learned to make independent decisions became incredibly effective fighters. "You have given us something we did not know we had lost," the Kythera Collective told Admiral Lee during a diplomatic meeting. "You have given us back our individual voices." But the Galaxy Council was not finished. Chancellor Vex Tar, desperate to maintain power, assembled a secret strike force of loyalist species. Their plan was simple: destroy Earth before the human revolution could spread further. The attack fleet was detected long before it reached human space. But instead of Earth's forces responding alone, they were joined by ships from 14 different species. The Terran Alliance's first battle was also its first major victory. The combined fleet used tactics that no single species could have developed. Luminary energy manipulation combined with human unpredictability. Kythera, collective coordination, guided by human individual initiative. Each species contributed their best abilities while learning from the others. Chancellor Vex Tar's strike force was not just defeated, it was convinced to join the alliance instead of fighting it. "This is not how galactic warfare works," the reptilian leader protested, as his ship was surrounded by vessels from a dozen different worlds. "No," Admiral Lee replied over the communication channel. "This is how cooperation works. Would you like to learn?" 6 months later, Admiral Min Jun Park stood on the bridge of humanity's first dreadnought-class vessel, the Terra Invicta. Around him, the bridge crew included humans, Luminari, Kythera, and representatives from 30 other species. Outside the ship, representatives from 67 worlds were gathering to sign the Alliance Charter. The document established principles that had never existed in galactic politics before: voluntary membership, shared decision-making, and protection for weaker species. The Galaxy Council still existed, but its absolute authority was broken. Many of its former members had joined the Alliance, while others had formed smaller, independent governments. The galaxy was more diverse and more free than it had been in thousands of years. You know what the strangest thing is? Minjun said to his first officer, a luminary named Zarathel. What is that, Admiral? They called us primitive. They said we were too violent and emotional to be civilized. But in the end, it was our emotions that saved us. Our refusal to accept defeat. Our willingness to sacrifice for others. Our belief that freedom is worth fighting for. Zarathel's energy form brightened with what Minjun had learned was the luminary equivalent of a smile. Perhaps being primitive is not such a bad thing, if it means remembering how to hope. Zarathel's energy form. As Minjun watched the signing ceremony begin, he reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. Humanity had not just survived first contact with galactic civilization. They had transformed it. The phrase, "never provoke a species that climb to the top of their food chain," was now taught in military academies across the galaxy. But more importantly, the concept, "never underestimate the power of hope," had become the foundation of the new galactic order. Years later, when alien children asked their parents about the time before the Alliance, they were told about the species that refused to be anyone's pets. The species that taught the galaxy that sometimes being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. Humanity had become what they had always been: survivors, innovators, and the species you definitely did not want to make angry. The galaxy was a better place because of it.